Battlefield 4 has just had a massive update, and in that update they added new weapons, a new game mode, they added some features which will change the way weapons work, and they also made bug fixes and fixes for just PC overall. Now, from the weapons that they added in the game, there's a new AR, a new carbine, a new PDW, a new LMG, and a new pistol. Now, the new pistol is very interesting. It's very unique. It's like a new sniper pistol. That's what they've called it. And it has the ability to one-shot people in the head, in the noggin, from any range, just like a normal sniper rifle. But then again, it's also a two-shot body shot from any range, so it really is a secondary which can double as a sniper. But the issue is, because it is a secondary, you have to rely on it being able to kill people in close quarters. So it really matters that you get those accurate shots on people's heads to kill them. But this isn't the only gun where shooting people accurately, such as getting headshots, is a benefit. They also added a new feature where every single gun that didn't previously have a one-shot headshot kill can knock out people with a two-shot headshot. Now, what's so great about this is it offers people a greater ability to accurately kill people and benefits players who are just naturally better at the game or worked harder to get their aim as accurate as it is now. So that means if you have your gun in a two-burst firing mode or a single-shot firing mode, if you get 2 bullets on the head, which is a 1-burst or a 2-burst, accurately, I'm really putting the emphasis on the word accurately here, then you are going to be mowing down people very easily. And it's also a great way to conserve ammo. If you're playing hardcore, for example, when you don't know how much ammo you have, it's easier to count when you're firing with a single shot, which means that the more accurate you are, the better. Another benefit this has is I enjoy playing with pistols a lot. And as a person who James Bonds a lot in this game, I like suppressed pistols, but the issue with suppressed pistols is they're very low damage and they're very low range. But now, if I actually go for headshots, I can still kill people in a 2-shot kill, where I would normally have to shoot 5 bullets into someone's body or 6 bullets into someone's body with a pistol to kill them, which is very hard to do because it takes up a lot of time. And that time can be used for them to turn on you and just shoot you really quickly with their fully automatic assault rifle, or carbine, or PDW, or LMG, or shotgun, or sniper rifle. You kind of see where I'm going with this. So I'm happy they added these new features which will make it easier for players, no matter what gun you're using, to kind of balance out the score, no matter the range, no matter the type of gun you're using. And I think this was just a really good change. Now, with the new guns that they added, the new assault rifle, the new carbine, the new PDW, the new LMG, they all have a little bit of variation compared to the other weapons in their class. Now, the most standard is probably the new assault rifle, which features an interesting twist on iron sights where it's more of like a levitating box iron sight. So you can see below the iron sight, you can see above it, which means that it's actually very effective as just an iron sight. You don't need to put anything on it to use this gun effectively. But players usually put on a red dot or cobra sight just because it's easier to use a gun that has a sight on it normally than not, and it just ends up becoming second nature. But for this gun, you don't need to have actual sights on it. You can just leave it the way it is with iron sights. Another feature this gun has is it has very high accuracy over range, which means that though its recoil is a little bit sporadic on the horizontal plane, you can still use this gun very efficiently over long ranges. So if someone's trying to snipe you from about 40 meters away, you can just switch your gun to the single shot mode and hit them in the body or the head, and it's not very hard because it's still high damage, so you won't have to put as many bullets into them as you would normally. Now, one issue I've been having is that over these long ranges, the actual bullet drop seems to be a little bit strange, where it varies. Sometimes it's a normal bullet drop, which you would experience with any other weapon, but other times I've actually had to shoot directly at them, even from a 40-meter range, which is rather long in this game, and there would be no bullet drop. So I'm kind of interested in if that's just an issue with the coding, or if it has to do with my placement and their placement on the map. So maybe I'm looking straight down at someone, but then the bullet drop would still be in effect. So I'm thinking maybe there's a glitch with the gun in that department. As for the carbine and PDW, they're actually the same type of weapon. The carbine and the PDW are both a modified version of the Groza. The carbine is the Groza 1, the PDW is the Groza 4. Now the Groza is a bullpup style rifle, but the difference between the two is the Groza 1 which is the carbine version, features a compensator and a grip, both of which you cannot change. The only thing you can change on that gun is making the iron sight into a different sight, like a Cobra sight, for example. While the PDW is very similar in that it's also a modified Groza, which is a style of bullpup rifle, but for this one, the barrel attachment is a suppressor and it also has a grip attachment, both of which you cannot change, and once again you can only change the iron sights to a sight such as the Cobra sight. So this means that when you would normally want to put on a whole bunch of different attachments, these are more of a specialized kind of gun where they only work in certain circumstances such as close quarters, because they also have a higher recoil pattern than other weapons in their class, which means that they're better for close quarters. And since you can't change what type of underbarrel attachments you have, such as grips and so on, it's going to be harder to control the recoil by just adding something onto it. And one thing that's annoying about these guns is they have both horizontal and vertical recoil compared to the standard horizontal recoil, so they're going to be a little bit harder to control when you're using this weapon with fully auto on. And finally, for the LMG features a 31 bullet magazine, which is very small compared to other weapons in its class. And because of this, you have to be very open-minded on where you use your ammo, because in other circumstances where you could just spray an LMG at someone and not worry about losing bullets in your magazine, now what happens is you lose bullets very quickly. So because of the high recoil that this gun has, and that the fact that it has such a small clip, you have to be very accurate with your shots. That could be from either double tapping while shooting, or just trying to get as accurate a spray as possible while you're fully autoing, but just make sure to watch your ammo count because it goes down very quickly, and you have to make sure that each bullet counts, especially for an LMG such as this one with such a small magazine. Now, I did cover the pistol, but the best usage for this pistol, in my opinion, isn't as a sniper rifle at all, but as a secondary to a weapon that is actually close range. Which sounds like I'm contradicting myself, but I'm not saying you should run around with this weapon only, because that's not a smart idea, because every time you shoot one round, like a bolt action sniper, you have to cock it back and reload a new bullet into the chamber, manually. This drastically reduces the bullets you can fire per minute, your RPM. So what I would suggest doing is using this as more of a secondary in situations where there's someone at a medium or longer range that you can't hit with your primary, because maybe it's a PDW or carbine that doesn't have very long range. So you switch to your secondary, you hit them. If you get a headshot, then they're down. If you get a body shot, then switch to your carbine or PDW and then try killing them with that instead of having to recock the bullet and wait for them to get closer to you or shoot you. And I found that this is more effective with weaker weapons such as the Groza, which aren't very good at long range, but are very effective in close range. They also added a new bullet mapping change to all weapons within the game. This means that based on the weapon's accuracy and range, the gun can either be more accurate or more effective over longer ranges. So they changed the way the optimal, effective, fall off, and then suppression ranges are. Now, the suppression range, for those of you that don't know, is when you start just shooting around someone. You start suppressing them. You give them suppressing fire, where you might hit them and cause them to go down, or hit them in general, compared to the optimal range, which is a very close quarter range, where your bullets are going to be most on target. So this new bullet mapping is more about bullet accuracy and less about bullet damage. So you'll see for weapons that have longer range, their accuracy will be both higher and longer, while weapons with shorter range will have lower accuracy over lower range. So you really have to check how strong your weapon is in both the accuracy and range department before going into certain types of combat, because like I said, for weapons like the LMG, for example, though it might have very long range, its accuracy due to its recoil is very sporadic, so you have to be careful. But remember that accuracy is not control. Control is the recoil pattern. Accuracy is the bullet spread if the recoil was to be 0 or non-existent. So remember that even though your gun is not moving, there can still be some fluctuations in where the bullets are going. The new game mode they added is a fan favorite from back in Battlefield 3 called Gunmaster. Now, those of you that already know what I'm talking about, you don't have to listen to this at all. But for those of you that have never played Gunmaster or never heard of it, it's a game mode where every time you get 2 consecutive kills, your weapon is switched out for another one. Now, the main format of this game is a team deathmatch style gameplay where you kill where every time you kill someone on the enemy team, they lose a ticket. and so on if you die. But now it's an interesting change where you don't actually get to choose what weapons you use. Instead, every time you get 2 consecutive kills, like I said, your weapon gets switched out. And they get switched out based on what preset you're using. There's 5 different presets that were introduced into the game: Standard, Classic, Pistol, DLC, and Troll. Now you probably kind of understand what Pistol and DLC are, but Standard and Classic both feature rifles, machine guns, shotguns, pistols, and end with the M9 bayonet. The only difference between the two is that Standard contains all rifles and pretty much all main weapons within the game, while Classic is only classic rifles, pistols, machine guns. So it really depends on which guns are in the game and just always in there, or which guns have just newly been added or are original Battlefield 4 weapons. Now the troll is very interesting because DICE realized that there are going to be some people playing party mode, and for this reason they added in a fun little game mode for people who are just playing with friends. The first weapon that you use is always going to be the ballistic shield, and after that they said it just gets downhill. It just starts going downhill from there. And because of this, I'm assuming they're only going to use like worse and worse weapons such as grenades, maybe some RPGs, things like that. Some very interesting weapons that normally wouldn't be in a game mode such as this. Now the larger performance changes they made to the game involve PC stability and netcode. Now, the netcode updates they made were very standard, but the stability updates they made it so people who are using older graphics cards that are much weaker or not as well optimized can run the game better with less crashing. Now, I say less crashing because they haven't said that there's no crashing. They've said that it has fixed it. So I'm assuming that this means that some people will crash if you're using a very bad graphics card or are forcing your graphics card to overclock constantly, but it will reduce the amount that your card crashes. They did this by improving client and server stability. But even with all these changes, if you have your graphics card overclocking at all, it's better that you just get a new graphics card if you want to play the spring update to its highest effectiveness, because they said that even with an overclocking graphics card, you're still at risk. No matter how small the amount is, as long as you're overclocking, you're still at risk for crashes. So I hope you guys have enjoyed my coverage of all the new updates and all the new things added in the spring update. If so, please leave a like button down below. Hit that like button. Leave a like. I don't know, I kind of messed up there. But anyway, so for the actual patch notes, they have not yet been released. When they are released, I will make sure to cover anything which is featured within the patch notes I have not yet stated in this video. If there's anything I missed that you guys would like me to cover, or there's something that you'd like me to talk about which I have talked about not in enough detail, or you'd like me to talk about in more detail, please let me know. But my name is Exeter. I do play on console mainly. I do have a PC, but I do not play it for games and stuff like that. I don't use it for that. So, if you would like to play with me, you'll have to play with me on Xbox One. I know, right? Oh my god, consoles, PC Master Race, whatever. But anyway, so, thank you for watching. My name is Exeter. Peace out, and goodbye.